Welcome to the beautiful Sabi Sands Game Reserve. We have an incredibly misty morning, and you can see the pre-dawn pink hue coming up on the eastern horizon. There's been lions calling, there's been leopards calling. So incredible prospects for today's sunrise safari. This is Safari Live. Ready?
Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
My name is Brent, and I have Brian and the Thumb on camera with me today. And together, Brent and Brian, with the Thumb as our sidekick, are known as the Killer Bees. And the Killer Bees are in search of lions that have been roaring. Now, I guess the audio was from one of these two valleys, so we're just going very, very slowly, trying to see if we can hear them. One of my favorite things in the African bush is to find animals by sound. Well, actually, just finding animals in general puts me on quite a high. But there is something exciting about listening to the call of a male lion in darkness and then heading out in the pre-dawn to try to find where he's vocalizing from. And it can be quite challenging sometimes because they're often vocalized while on the move. But apart from the lions roaring in this area, there were leopard roaring in that area. So if we have no luck with the lions, because it is very close to our northern boundary, we're actually on the northern boundary at the moment, we're going to go see if we can find the leopard that was calling as well. Now remember, this is a live African safari, so you are seeing everything at the exact same time as us. And it's about 13 degrees Celsius this morning, which is 56 Fahrenheit. And if you want to chat to us, please do. You can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can send us emails to questions@wildearth.tv. Now, where are you, kitty cats? Wouldn't it be amazing to find the lions roaring in this pre-dawn mist and the condensation coming out of their mouth? So while we check very carefully through here, my partner in crime for today's sunrise safari is Commander Bond, or James Henry, who's waiting to say good morning.
Greetings everybody from the dawn that has just broken here in the northeast corner of sunny South Africa. Well, it's going to be sunny fairly soon. My name is James Henry, on camera today, Wiam Dorenbraak. Hello, Wiam. How are you? Yes, I have asked him that before, everybody. He didn't just climb on the vehicle right now, and I haven't not been speaking to him. I just thought for your benefit we'd find out how he is. And he seems to be okay. You can see that he sounds a little bit gruff. That's because I asked him to film that scene over there, and Wiam would prefer to film things killing other things rather than the beauty of the serenity of the African dawn that has presented itself to our east. Now, we're as live as Brent Leo Smith, so please do get hold of us. Tweet us at hashtag Safari Live. Email us on questions at wildearth.tv. Yes, I've got that right. I've only said it 7,000 times, and so it's perfectly understandable that I should forget it every so often. The full moon is still up behind us. Look at that, Wiam. We're doing so much scenery this morning. And my plan this morning is to head down towards the south of the reserve and see if we can't pick up something of the Great Queen. Perhaps she has come back across from Hofmann's, and maybe she's brought her youngsters, and maybe we will enjoy their company for the course of the morning. I haven't seen them nearly enough since I've been back from leave, which is now pushing on 2 and a bit weeks, so that's a bit sad. Anyway, it's not that sad. We'll be okay. If we don't find her, we'll try and head across to Cheetah Plains and spend some time with the leopard that Brent found yesterday in Kanyeni. She's a rather magnificent specimen of a feline hood, and we saw her. I've only seen her once, and that was with you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it was with you. Wiam's seen her twice, he says. Oh, 3 times. He's very proud of himself now. Well done. Okay. I think that's all I have to tell you. So let's carry on. Wim is clearly not going to be filming the serenity of the dawn any longer. Again, a very quiet morning. In the last week or so, the dawn chorus has dimmed somewhat, and I think that's probably got to do with the fact that all the birds are preparing for the spring. We are on the 19th of August, so we've got 11 days left of winter, officially. 1st of spring, very soon. And of course, for most of our audience, that means the 1st of autumn, or certainly the approach of winter. Sorry for you. Ha ha ha. I don't know why it's always such an exciting time, the winter, not the winter, the spring. Ooh. Hello, T. van Ejik. T. van Ejik, is that correct? You say you heard round hornbills calling from the Djuma Dam Cam, and you say you really enjoy their call. I think they've got a beautiful call as well. Brian Joubert, who's filming Brent Leo Smith at the moment, has a remarkably good way of doing an impression of the ground hornbill. So next time you go across to him, I suggest you ask him to do it, and he will, you know, he can do it on demand, basically, so you don't have to wait to find those incredibly rare and endangered birds. And for those of you who don't know, ground hornbill is a large black turkey-like fellow with an enormous chisel-like bill. I wouldn't describe him as the most beautiful of African birds, but he's certainly a very magnificent fellow and very interesting to watch. Tortoise eaters they are. It's probably about, I'm told, about 13 degrees Celsius. Oh, look, look, look. Stop, bird. I'm sure that's the same bird we saw fly over here yesterday. Did it stop, Wim? You see it? Is this any good? I have no idea where it is. Forward? Oh yes, well spotted. You got it there. In that little marula tree. Now that's a little raptor, everybody. Let's try and identify it. Pink bill. And it doesn't seem to have a white stripe on the bottom. So that pink bill and that size could be a lizard buzzard or a gabar goshawk. And now it has flown away at a great speed. So it's a little raptor. I'll pull out the book and I'll just show you the two it could have been. I'm pretty sure it was a lizard buzzard. I only say that because I've seen a lizard buzzard around here fairly regularly. Let us go to the book. There is the gabar goshawk over there. Now it could easily have been him, but he's got quite a red cere. You can see the cere there is red or orangish red rather than pinky. And the lizard buzzard, which is somewhere here, where are you? Lizard buzzard, there he is. He's got a much pinker cere. So I think that's what he was. I've seen him around here before. So I'm going to go with the lizard buzzard. And Wim, do you know what the lizard buzzard eats? Lizard? Correct. It eats lizards. Well done. That is very intuitive of you. You've clearly been doing your studying. Mm-hmm. Let us carry on. They don't only eat lizards, but they do eat lizards as well. Nuts and small children in addition. Okay, let's go across to Stefan. He is on foot with Herbert and Eggsy. Eggsy on foot on safari. That'll be a good one to see. We'll catch up with you just now.
Good morning, and welcome to the sunrise portion of the bushwalk today. You're with Steph, as James quite rightly surmised, and yes, we have Xander on camera today. We just decided to come up onto quarantine, A, because it's only really just gotten light enough for us to walk around, and B, because it is singularly one of the best places on the whole of Djuma where we can watch the phenomenon that happens once a month. Obviously, the full moon is over my right-hand shoulder there and is about to set, and over my left shoulder, the sun is about to rise. We're still a couple of minutes away, but just have a look at that mist that's developing in these valleys as the sun rises. It wasn't misty when we woke up this morning, but it's getting a bit mistier. And I think that this is just something fantastic. This is exactly where we're going to be staying for the next couple of minutes, and hopefully we'll be able to show you the moon setting and the sun rising at around about the same time. It doesn't always happen at exactly the same time, but we should be able to see both the moon and the sun together in the sky at the same time. Obviously, full moons, the moon doesn't generate its own light. That is actually reflected light from the sun. Can you believe it? Makes you think that the sand on top of the moon is pure white, but it's actually like a grayish color, to be quite honest. And then it is because the sun is directly opposite the moon to where we're standing at the moment. That's why we have if this was the sun and this was the moon, the sun, well, other way around in this particular case, sun shining onto the moon full front. We don't have the earth blocking out a portion of the moon with its shadow, giving us that new moon, old moon type feel that you get going, with the shadow of the earth creeping slowly across the moon's face. It'll slowly from now start to wane. I think that's what we call it. Yes, wane, which means that slowly the moon will be eaten into until new moon, when there is no moon. Basically, the earth's shadow is completely over the moon, and what happens then is that there is no moon. The moon still rises, but has very little reflection on it. And then the opposite will happen. It'll start to wax, and the moon will get fuller and fuller until we have the new full moon coming up, which happens once a month around about. Now, you do have blue moon occurrences, and a blue moon occurrence is when you get 2 full moons in any one calendar month. So a blue moon is when we get 2 full moons in any one calendar month, hence the saying once in a blue moon. It does happen, but not that often. Now, I can't remember who exactly we're going to be linking to right now, but you are going to go to one of the other presenters, Brent or James. It's to Brent. There we go. You're going to be off to Brent, who's got an update on whatever he's doing for you. See you later.
So I'm still moving very, very slowly along our northern boundary. No sign of tracks, and of course Murphy's Law, no deep roars to shatter the dawn. Now, I'm thinking that the roars I heard in this area were males, and they could very easily be to the north of us, but there's no tracks crossing, so there's a very good chance the rest of the Nkuhuma Pride are somewhere in this belt. Now, as you can see, the mist's quite heavy where we're heading, so we do apologize. The lens might mist up as we go through these dips, but fingers crossed that the lions are about. Now, these misty mornings are one of my favorites. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. Well, a misty morning to Linda in Michigan. And I'm sure Michigan has its fair share of misty mornings, with the Greater Lakes being around. Now, Linda is wondering, what is the difference in activity with animals during winter and summer? Now, it depends what we're talking about, Linda. So, with the cats, they are active later into the mornings and earlier in the evenings during winter, and that's just, purely due to the temperature. As summer comes along, they're more active during the night, whereas here during winter you'll find they will sleep through the coldest part of the night and then get moving probably around 5-ish in the morning, whereas in summer they probably can get moving up to 3:34 in the morning, and they'll stop moving much, much earlier because of that heat of the day as it comes through. Now, we haven't had a particularly cold winter this year, so I think that is boding for a particularly hot summer. So it's going to be very interesting to watch how the different animals' behavior changes. When it comes to your herbivores, your plant eaters, and you'll find that things like zebra and wildebeest and that are active a lot during the middle of the day when it's hot. Hello. First set of lion tracks that are fresh. Now I'm trying to figure out now. This looks like just at least one male. I just want to see they don't continue down the road. They head off towards Mvubu Road. Decision time. Do we take the chance and look for the Nkuhumas, or do we follow these male tracks? Sorry, Linda, as I was saying, so your zebra and things like that will often drink during the heat of the day, sort of around the 11, 12 o'clock, whereas in the summer they will drink a bit earlier. It almost looks like a lion and a lioness rather than two males. And I just want to check a little bit further, see if there are any tracks of the cubs. I don't think so. Decision time. So why don't you guys let me know what you would like to look for? Would you like to look for what looks to be a lion and a lioness, or would you like to look for the rest of the Nkuhuma pride? And you can do that by using the hashtag Safari Live. I'm just checking down the road, making sure there's nothing there. Or send an email, questions@wildearth.tv. In the meantime, I'm going to hedge my bets, and I'm going to drive in between where I think both those sets of lions are. So it gives you guys some time to send through your answers. While we hedge our beds down the center, let's go see how Commander Bond is doing.
Not much to report this end, everybody. We've come down towards Treehouse Dam, hoping to pick up on something to do with Karula. Her tracks have remained, unfortunately, very absent from the road on which we're driving, but that's okay. She might pop out around the corner, as might any number of other amazing things. What I would like to do now is have a little bit of a listen. You can listen to a little bit of the dawn chorus just prior to the sunrise. Sunrise still hasn't happened yet, which is quite nice. Let's just listen. So 2 alarm call birds there. We've got the lilac, the crested barbet going. We've got the brew going. The drongos everywhere, and the lovely hornbills calling. Black-headed oriole. And those drongos are pretending to be francolins over there. And 1 or 2 francolins calling as well, and 1 or 2 grey-headed sparrows. So the dawn chorus picking up slightly now. So let us continue. Unfortunately, I do not hear the yelling and terrified calls of impala being set upon by leopards, nor do I hear the sawing sound of leopards calling as they sort of mark their territories for the last time during the night. Those were starlings, everybody. Let's carry on down here. Sorry, I just thought I heard something down there. Johnny, while we're just going to sit here for 1 second more and have a little listen, you want to know which animal is the biggest threat to the birds out here? Well, probably other birds, Johnny. I would suspect that raptors, birds that come flying out of the sky, death from the sky if you like, they are probably the greatest danger to the other birds. Then I suppose at night when they're roosting, things like jennets and African wildcats and civets, which will climb into the trees and try and catch some nestling birds, well, they might be considered a major danger. But otherwise, even something like a leopard will eat a bird if it can get hold of it. But I would say that other birds, the raptors, the hawks, if you like, the accipiters, are the ones, like that one we saw earlier, like that lizard buzzard. They would be the ones that would pose the greatest danger to things like that starling sitting there, or those hornbills that like to sit out in the early morning sun. The moon is still quite astonishing. Let's just get a quick view of it there. Just before it sets. Ooh, and there's a pearl-spotted owl calling here. There's the moon view of him. It's not the greatest position. I'm not inducing him to call. Now watch, just watch how quickly that moon sinks. It's going to go there. You can hear him calling now. Had two of them calling. Just look how quickly this moon will sink below the trees. See? Vim's not moving the camera. And look at it disappearing there. What a beautiful color it is. Vim said, shame, the rabbit looks like it's going to fall out of the moon today. I have to agree with him. Isn't that amazing how fast it moves? Completely inexorable process. That you almost want to kind of hold it and stop it moving, but it's not possible really. There goes the owlet again. Let's see if we can see him. I think he's in these bushes just in front of us. Possibly a pair of them. I think they're in this thicket over here. The great pearl-spotted owlet. Very angry looking fellow all the time. There's the sun. Here's the bird. He's right there. Two of them in this tree, right here. You see the one right there? There he is. No, man, come back here. He obviously, he's calling again. Oh, he came right over to see, and then he obviously realized that Veerm and I were not pearl-spotted owlets, even though we're almost the same size as pearl-spotted owlets. Should we try and call him once more, see if we can get him to come here? Listen to them all. Here he comes. Here he comes. He's just going past the front of us. Just in front of us there, everybody. He's in the tree behind. Let's see if we can get him. There, I can see him now. He's watching us with great suspicion. Fortunately, there's lots of bush behind him and in front of him. Endless trees. They're very clever the way they sit in places that are not obvious. Can you see him there, Wimpy? Oh, you silly bird. He knew we could see him. Anyway, that's we've played with him enough. Let's have a quick look at the sun, which Viam filmed voluntarily recently, you may have noticed. This is an evolution of Viam's appreciation of things that are not being killed in the morning. All right, we're going to carry on down here. Steph has got another great picture of the rising African sun from quarantine clearings.
Exactly. Have a look at that burning ball that's coming up over there. The sun, we can actually almost directly look at it because of the mist that's in these valleys at the moment, and it's sort of diffusing that light through through the mist banks, and it's letting it, well, it's a bit easier for us to have a look at that red orb before it starts to get that brilliant color that almost sears the eyes when you look at it. The moment it's almost there, I must be honest, when I'm blinking like this, I can see the sun flickering in my vision. But we also have the moon on this side over here that is now almost setting. I suppose it's probably around about 15 minutes or so away from setting. So we're going to have the sun and the full moon in the sky at probably around about the same height from one another in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Just such a beautiful morning, I must be honest. And just like James and Brent have been listening to the bush around them, so have we actually. Andrew has just asked a nice question. Does the full moon keep animals up the same as it does people? Andrew, you know, I woke up this morning actually looking at the full moon, thinking back to my guiding days when I was commercially guiding, and the feeling I had in the mornings when I knew it was a full moon. And I remember distinctly that during full moon sessions, nocturnal hunting almost stops. It's very difficult, unless you knew exactly where a leopard or a lion was, to find hunting cats in an evening safari during a full moon. Generally what happens is the cats now wait until tonight or tomorrow night after a full moon has risen, because the first 2 hours of darkness after sunset is pitch black before the moon arrives. So the moon arrives about 40 minutes later every single day. So the fact that it rose at sunset last night means that 40 minutes after sunset tonight, and then 80 minutes after sunset tomorrow night, it's dark. And I always saw this dramatic increase in predator activity just after a full moon. So yes, I would actually say to you, Andrew, that there's absolutely, animals change their behavior regarding full moons, windy days, storms, rain, time of the year, temperature as well. I know that in deep winter here, on a particularly cold year, this year hasn't been cold at all. We've had 2 or 3 weeks of uncomfortable weather, but for the most part, haven't had to put on anything more than a light jersey. But some winters here do get quite cold, even to a point where in about 2002 or 3, I think I saw snow on top of the Maripskop of the Drakensberg, which is about within sight of here, at least anyway. And then you see animals hunting almost exclusively in the day. So your predators would move from nocturnal hunting into diurnal hunting, just to save themselves that body heat of releasing that body temperature and having to shiver to stay warm. Remembering, animals out here don't have a lot of fat to keep them warm whatsoever. They're all super lean and react quite negatively toward temperature changes. But have a look at the sun. It's almost now too bright to look at. It is actually almost, for me, too bright to look at. Our closest star with a cap of clouds. Sarah, on the dam cam last night, you heard hyenas fighting. I must be honest, I didn't hear that last night. I heard a lot of hyena activity around sunrise, well, not around sunrise this morning. When I was waking up, surfacing this morning at around about 4 o'clock, I heard a lot of hyena activity, and it could well have been while we were dead asleep. You were hearing these hyena fighting or jostling with one another. I've got a sneaky suspicion that one of the den sites that is close to Voyatella camp is active. So either the one on Mvubu Road or the one on Shortcut Galago actually has hyena in again, and it's just a matter of time before we stick our nose in there and go and see exactly what's happening at those den sites. But you've asked an interesting question in addition to your comment about injured hyenas. Would an injured hyena be a danger to a person on foot? I think almost any animal out here injured would be dangerous to people on foot. Hyenas generally are, I consider them to be the most dangerous animal out here from a camp perspective. And that's because hyena, unlike almost any other predator, will without qualms walk directly into a staff village, directly through the staff village. And if you happen to have your door open, or you've fallen asleep next to the fire, or you're sitting in a camp chair doing some work and you've snoozed off, quite often it's a hyena that gives you a big fright and wakes you up, and they will bite you. They have bitten lots of people before. That's a hyena that's not injured. An injured hyena is going to battle to find food, it's going to feel threatened, and it will retaliate in with a much shorter time span than than hyenas that are not injured. And I would think that that propensity for being dangerous around camp will probably be elevated with an injured hyena. So let me answer your question simply, Sarah. Yes, I do think that an injured hyena is a danger to people on foot. Out here with us, healthy, walking around in the bush, I don't think that it'll be too dangerous at all. I'm saying that that's strictly from a camp perspective. So staff around a camp, children playing around a camp, and just general camp life. I think hyenas are there. It would be a lot more dangerous. All right, so now that we've got the moon busy sinking into the mist banks over there, you can hardly even see it now. Lots of mist obviously across the Drakensberg mountain range there, and it's sort of diffusing the moon's light to a point where it will fade away as it gets a bit lower. And I think that's pretty much the joy we are going to get from the full moon today. Now, our plan for this morning is to walk closer to Treehouse Dam. Herbert came to me this morning and said he's got a funny feeling that we are going to find some leopard tracks at Treehouse Dam, and who am I to stop Herbert from exploring these little gut feels that he has at the moment. And quite interestingly, there's a tree in front of you, Xander. Xander's concentrating on making sure that you stay steady, and he was heading straight towards a massive fallen down tree. All right, now while we walk off of quarantine, which is a bear for everything, we have got James who's got a water buck for you.
There is a waterbuck, everybody. As Steph said correctly, it is indeed a waterbuck. I'm just taking a photograph the other side of the sun, which is very beautiful indeed. Look how pretty that is, just quickly before we discuss the waterbuck. And there is how beautiful is that? There is a very important discussion to be had about the waterbuck, despite what my colleague Willem Dorenbraak says. And that is about the camouflage that they have. They've got unbelievable camouflage in this kind of vegetation, and I'm sure you noticed that. Let me just pull that back a bit. There we go. Willem, this is going to be an epic one. Are you jealous? Would you like to see it, Willem?
Yes.
There we are, hey? Look, so pretty. There we go. Well, all I had to do was point it at the sun. Okay, let's have a look here again. Now, we have been chatting quite extensively about camouflage, and the waterbuck, I believe, to have the strongest coloration of any animal out here for staying hidden. And look how perfectly they match the vegetation. They too have a slightly subtle gold coppery color to their fur, just like this vegetation does. The reason I'm laughing, everyone, is that you know that Willem likes to film things that are, he likes the action. And we're trying to put together a little sort of roll-in, as we call them, or short insert on camouflage. So whenever we see a particularly impressive example of camouflage like this, well, then Willem is asked to record it so that we might edit it together. Willem is deeply, deeply displeased with this particular development. In fact, if I could have shown you the gesture that he just gave to me, well, you'd be shocked. Look how that one's ear, you see how the ear has been slightly mangled on the left? Its left, our right. I think that's probably just from running through the bushes, you know. I think a lot of the ear damage that we see on the animals out here comes from them getting caught on knob thorns and black monkey thorns and ziziphus bushes. I think that's a really remarkable picture. And look how the whole scene has been bathed in the new light of the sun. I wonder if, much like the animals, we don't find the joy of the sunrise. Perhaps it's a throwback to our evolutionary past, where we knew we'd made it through the night, and the predators were all going to go to sleep now, and we could enjoy the day. But there is something about every single sunrise I ever see that fills me with a sense of some kind of connection and happiness. And, you know, it doesn't seem to matter how many times I see the sun coming up. I feel the same. Likewise, though, when the sun sets, I feel the same sort of thing. So that would argue against what I've just said about our psychology. You've had enough of those camouflaged waterbuck, have you? He's nodding vigorously now, yes. Okay, let's carry on. We don't want to push him too far, everyone. Haven't seen any tracks of leopards. So I think we're probably going to head across to Cheetah Plains now. Aubrey is mobile here, so he will help Brent. And I'm sure Brent mentioned, but Mvula, who has been mating recently, and as VM said, seems to have settled into retirement rather happily. He killed a fully grown male warthog yesterday, and I don't know if you've seen the video. I'm not sure where it's been posted on Facebook, but it's disturbing because the pig makes a horrible noise. But it is unbelievable how that leopard manages to take the warthog out, especially if you know anything about warthogs and how powerful they are. That leopard is a long way from being finished. He did an incredible job of killing that warthog. I'm beginning to wonder if those times where we saw him wandering down on the Mloamati drainage there, looking a little bit hippie at the back and looking like he was losing muscle tone, perhaps he was sick. I don't know, but he seems to be really back into his old haunts. He's mating, he's killing enormous warthog. So, I mean, I think he's doing rather well. Hello, Impala. There too, enjoying the sun. This is the second antelope in less than 3 minutes that you've had to film. It must be burning your soul. And as I say this to you, everybody, apparently the hyenas stole Mvula's kill last night. That's not surprising in the slightest. And it's not surprising in the slightest simply because it was too big, I think, for him to pull into a tree. And just listen to the gentle footfall as they move. Listen. They're just not quite sure if we are dangerous or not. VM, of course, is very dangerous. Aren't you, VM? That is beautiful. Isn't that lovely? That's such a stunning shot. Sarah, you want to know about what I think the most impressive form of camouflage I've seen is. I mean, I would have to say those waterbuck. I think they are. Yeah, for me, those waterbuck are just astoundingly well hidden, especially at this time of year. Not so much during the winter time, at least during the summertime. But you see, in summer, everything hides behind the green vegetation. So for me, running there. So for me, I would say the waterbuck, Sarah. Yeah, definitely the waterbuck. Zebra, not so much, but that's because our eyes aren't adapted like the predators are. So what is camouflage to us, of course, could be very different to what's camouflaged for something like a lion, which sees in different shades. But if you're ever coming out here, I mean, I know I go on about this, but if you come out here on safari, Sarah, and you really want to stay hidden, which you don't really need to, but if you want to, that kind of grey-brown colour is very good. Grey, blue, brown. Far better than khaki, which is actually quite easy to spot if you know what you're looking for. I was hoping to find some sign of the Great Queen around here, but I think she's still in the south. She's been avoiding me, you know, VM. I don't know why she's been avoiding me. Maybe I said something to cause her displeasure. No, not here. I'm going to avoid Treehouse Dam because it's just a bit dry at the moment, and I don't think she would have come down there. So let's head towards Twin Dams, and then we'll go towards Cheetah Plains. Unless you'd like to go somewhere else, anyone, you can certainly ask me. Chris Rogue, you say, and you amongst a few, have said that there was a great deal of consternation and shouting yesterday by the hyenas during the night, most of them around the waterhole, and then you say they're headed south down towards Twin Dams. Well, we might be lucky then, and we'll head up. I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of going straight down here towards Twin Dams, we'll go up a little bit further to the north and then down Twin Dams. While we do that, let's head across to Leo Smith and find out how his leopard and lion tracking's going.
So as per your request, we're looking for the Nkuhumas and cubs. We had tracks of one single lioness heading south into this block between Buffalo's Hook Waterhole and Hyena Road. So we're looping around towards the Buffalo's Hook Waterhole, see if there's any luck there. Now, we had very fresh tracks of a male leopard heading west as well. So we're going to keep looking for the Nkuhumas, but if we have no success or if they cross north, then we'll go back to those leopard tracks. Now, we're about to arrive at the Buffalo's Hook Waterhole, and it is just the most gorgeous morning. I love being out in the mist. It creates a bit of havoc for our camera team, though, having to constantly wipe the lens. So if you see Brian's thumb with a cloth over it come in front, don't get a fright. It's just trying to make sure that you've got the best picture possible. Okay, fingers crossed, lions at the waterhole. Now, where the rest of the pride were was not too far from here on the Sunset Safari as well. So there's a strong possibility they might have moved towards Buffalo's Hook. Now, oh, exciting. Not a lion, but something we haven't seen for quite a while. Just hopefully it doesn't disappear. Look at that, a saddle-billed stork. Lovely bird to start off the safari with, on the birds at least. Taking advantage of the drying waterhole, looking for any frogs or even small terrapins. I don't think there's any fish left here after it dried earlier. Oh, what's he got? What you got? Now, we've got the most beautiful and biggest stork we get in our area here. Now, Ali's wondering if I've ever seen a shoebill stork in real life. Ali, I'm very, very lucky I have. I've seen them in Zambia, and I've also seen them in Uganda. I don't know how good the fishing's going to be for the saddlebill in what little water is left at Buffalo's Hook. Oh. Could be a few platanas, type of frog. but we have been finding terrapins moving from this area, walking down the road towards Gowrie, towards the Djuma Pan, a couple of times in the last couple of days. So even the terrapins have decided there's not enough water left there to survive. There might be a few babies, small ones. They might be even small enough for the saddle bull to eat. I'm just going to move forward a little bit. There's another interesting story playing out behind the saddle bull, and it's a story we've seen before a while ago. And I don't know if, I'm sure a few of you will remember about the bully lapwing chasing the tiny three-banded plover, but it looks like he's bullying again. Now, the main reason for this is probably because this pair of lapwings have a tiny baby at the moment. Oh, now they seem to have stopped. And there we go. Let's see. Look, there we go. He's chasing the three-banded plover. Brian, were you with me for the last lapwing bully? No. So literally, the lapwing chased the tiny three-banded plover for about half an hour, up and down, and every time it landed, it would run along the ground, and as soon as the little three-banded plover would take off, the lapwing would take off after it. See, there we go. Head down, charging lapwing. Now, of course, the three-banded plover is smaller and a lot more agile and faster than the lapwing. Now, of course, that little three-banded plover poses no threat. Well, now there's two. Now the lapwing's confused. Who do I chase? Just a very, very beautiful scene here. Even though there's very little water left. Oh, there we go. There he goes. The poor little lapwing, the poor little plover. You can see how much bigger the blacksmith lapwing is than the three-banded plover. Oh, and stop for a drink. Chasing little guys is hard work. Now, you could argue that the fact that they do feed on similar little bits of things in the water, and it is so dry, it could be defending resources, and I just think it's the fact that they've got a little baby and they're being a little bit overprotective. I mean, they were thinking about attacking lions not so long ago. Now, Joey, oh, there we go. Whoa. Lovely camera work, Brian. Joey's asking about the saddle-billed stork. Joey's 18 and in Australia. And is it just randomly stabbing into the water, or is it looking for fish? Well, it's actually randomly stabbing into the mud at the moment, looking for frogs or baby terrapins, or no fish left, I think, after the last time it dried up, but it's randomly stabbing, looking for anything that's hiding in the mud. Now, they've got nice widespread feet, so they don't sink in as deep into the mud as you or I would. If I probably had to stand there, I would probably go probably over my knees deep into the mud. As you can hear, some Egyptian geese having a morning discussion. So we got blacksmith lapwing, saddle-billed stork, and two Egyptian geese, pair having a lovely little conversation at the moment. And a stretch. So there's a joke when it comes to Egyptian geese. It's the female making that da-da, 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 and it's the male going shh, 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 shh. I'm just going to move forward a little bit to see if we can see the baby lapwing that's causing the other lapwing to keep chasing a tiny little three-banded plover. Now, quite often it'll be hiding under mom's wing, and mom is just below us, and sometimes you just suddenly see an extra set of legs underneath the female lapwing. There we go. You can just make out something between her legs. So when it's cold, she will almost sort of sit on top of the baby, using her feathers to warm it. There we go. You see the movement between her legs? That's the little baby. Now, as a defensive mechanism, if there's a potential predator, that baby would just sit completely still and merge into that mud, and she might run off depending on what type of predator's around. With terrestrial predators, the adult lapwings will pretend to have a broken wing and sort of drag it along the ground to try and draw those predators away from her baby. And if it gets really serious, they will actually dive bomb. I've seen them dive bomb elephants. I've seen them dive bomb lions. Right, we're going to leave the birds of Buffelshoek and keep searching for the big cats. Look at that, a beautiful, beautiful sunrise. But while we keep searching for lions, let's go back to Uncle Steph, who's marching around Juma.
I'm marching around a little bit. We came to have a look and see if any of the flowers of our sausage pod tree here in Philemon's Dip have started to bloom just yet, and they haven't. But there was a green pigeon in the top of this tree we were busy looking at, and obviously, as luck would have it, just as we hear Kirsten going 3, 2, 1, you live, boom, the bird flies away. So our sneaking up onto the bird didn't really work. He was watching us from a long time away. But back to the flowers of this particular tree. I know that this is in the bush here, in this particular reserve. This is the only shambok pod, sausage pod, listen to me. This is the only sausage pod tree that we have growing outside of the camp. I personally think that this is a male tree. I don't think that this one bears any fruits. However, that's just me, and that's just me talking after having been here only for one growing season. I don't see any remnants of any other fruit around here. Perhaps those of you who've been watching for years could shed some light on whether this is a male or a female tree. In other words, did it produce fruit or didn't it? I know there's some in camp, in the Djuma Voyatella camp area. There's quite a few sausage pods there. They've been planted, of course. And I know that definitely on the Sabi rivers and on the sand rivers, there's lots of sausage pod trees there. So it's not out of its area. It's not like it's an uncommonly lonely tree in this particular area. It's just that on Djuma, there isn't any large sausage pods that we've managed to find anyway. But this one doesn't even have one trailer of flowers. They get this most beautiful, deep, deep red scarlet flower. And they're hanging grows. Oh, there's another pigeon. And there's one on a nest, a green pigeon on a nest. Right there. That's why they were all here.
Got it.
Okay, so not too disappointing. We've got a green pigeon on a nest. That's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. There's actually 2 pigeons. One now coming down to the nest to its partner. Look at that, bringing some nesting material. So, okay, sorry, just a bit difficult to find it full zoom, but that was actually quite interesting. So we've now got 2 green pigeons, but there was a third one that had flown away. I wonder if they all help to bring nesting material. So one has just flown away, both of them flown away there, and a third one had flown away. And what was interesting with that is that I saw the pigeon sitting on the nest being brought a stick from a partner who then laid the stick in the nest, and now they've flown away. Now pigeons in general don't make very good nests. It's usually just a mat of grass, and if I were to say what nest this is above our head here, I would say it's probably last year's green pigeon nest. You can see that they look quite flimsy. Pigeons and doves don't build very good nests. That said, it's going to be interesting to see what type of nest that gets built into. It's going to be nice. Yay, something to keep an eye on for the next couple of days, couple of weeks. All happens quite quick out here, you know. The seasons change relatively abruptly. We have all these flowers coming out all of a sudden. Sorry, Kirsty, you're going to have to just repeat that question. Radios. Kyle, you asking when do we think we're going to have the first woodlands kingfisher? Kyle, I'll presume that we'll probably get it in November, late November, early December. We'll start getting our first woodlands kingfisher. We were here, I think our first woodland kingfisher came in late November, about the 26th, 27th of last year, if I remember correctly. Might have been slightly earlier than that, but it was somewhere around there. So keep a lookout. I'm sure Brent will absolutely be quite exciting. Now, there's a little spider web at the end of this grass tuft here, this inflorescence. And what's quite amazing is a couple of weeks back, they were infested, these inflorescences, by brown widow spiders, the Lactrodectus geometricus, as far as I could get it in my spider book. And all of a sudden they've disappeared. I cannot find one. We've been walking around in the bush now for at least a week to 10 days, and I haven't even found one. All right, but on that note, we're going to send you through to James, who's got a batelier before it flies away.
Me don't think these bateliers are going anywhere, everyone. They're sitting in the sun, enjoying the warmth that it gives. Now, there were 3 of them on that very branch yesterday that Eggsy and I tried to show you. And, well, we did show you them. And then they moved off, or one of them moved off, and we spotted the nest, which is just a little bit further south of here. Now, if you listen very carefully, yes, obviously they're not doing it now, one of them is calling to the other. Now, I don't know if this is the mating pair, or if the third one we saw yesterday is part of a mating pair that includes one of these two. There. You hear that? Strident sort of calling. And I'm pretty sure what's going on here is that there's going to be some mating going on here. Hello, Wendy. You say, how long did it take me to learn all the bird calls? Wendy, I don't know all the bird calls yet. I still hear birds here that I don't know how to identify. But it does take a while. It took me a few years, I think. And you say, do you have to have them to be a guide? No, you don't. Look, it obviously helps if you're guiding people who know about birds and who want to see birds, and you need to know a certain level of bird call. But you don't have to know them all. I mean, I know some people who are able to identify, sort of 900 species of birds from the slightest little swizzle or a peep that they might exclaim in the morning light. But I know many others who don't know much about birds at all. So it really depends on the guests that you have and the people you're guiding's interests. But I find them, especially for a job like this, the more kind of you can, the greater number of calls you can that you have, and the greater number of, or the greater amount of knowledge that you have, the easier it is to do a job like this where you have such a vast array of guests or viewers. But no, you don't have to know them all to be a guide, and I know some guides who, I think they'd struggle to identify a sparrow's call, to be honest. So I think these chaps are going to produce another baby this year, and we know, of course, that a Batalier's baby takes 7 years to get to adulthood, and so it's a very long process. They won't look after him for 7 years, but it will take 7 years for him to attain that beautiful adult plumage. And what's interesting, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on, there were 3 adults sitting on that branch. It's quite possible that one of them is related to the couple that lives in this area, and maybe he just hasn't, or she hasn't set up a family of her own yet. But I'm not sure if there isn't some competition. They do form monogamous pairs, but remember, monogamous don't necessarily mean permanent. So not necessarily a permanent life bond. You can hear the doves calling now. A humble ring-necked dove, beautiful call, and it's sitting just up there. You see it there, Wimpy? There we are. See it calling? See the throat come out as it calls? And there I can actually hear a ground hornbill. Very, very far away. Very nice. Okay, let's carry on. We've come down here. We're on a road called Leadwood Road. We haven't made it to Cheetah Plains yet, obviously. Just because we saw some hyena tracks coming this way, off Twin Dams. We thought maybe they might be the ones Chris Rogue was talking about. And what I'm going to do now, there are so many hyena tracks around here that I'm going to go and check the old den site that was between Leadwood and Cheetah Cut Line, which is just down here. We'll go and just have a quick look there. We obviously don't know where the Djuma hyenas are at the moment. Maybe they've come back in there. I think it's unlikely that we wouldn't have seen them coming down through the property, but it is possible. And then I suppose we will go to Cheetah Plains. For I have given up on the Queen today. Oh, hello, Angie in Wisconsin. You say, do any of the Safari Life crew do hyena impressions? Well, I suppose you could probably induce Brent Leo Smith to do one. You might even induce me to do one. I shall do one immediately. But we will do it only once we're looking at that waterbuck bull, and we'll see how he reacts. He's a rather magnificent fellow. Let me just get around him so that we can have a look at him. He's going into Torchwood as opposed to Djuma, which is very silly of him. There we are. Now, a hyena makes a number of different calls, of course. One of them is the whooping sound, which goes... There we go. That's the hyena's whooping sound. And then it goes... My whoop was much better than my cackle, everyone. And then they do have a very throaty growl that is quite terrifying. We'll give him one more whoop, shall we? Got to give it a bit of a punch at the end there to make it echo through the woodland. If there are any hyena in the den just down the road here, they're all going to have got up and run away. For terror at the enormous hyena coming towards them, the powerful voice. Right. The little road is just here. You can see the mist is now starting to lift. The smell is very fresh and moist. It's a lovely morning. Alright, let's go across to Steph. He's at another hyena den. I don't think there are any hyenas there, but let's go and find out.
Well, there you go. We're actually standing at the den at Philemon's Katlan. I came to have a look and see if there's any hyena activity around this particular den. And you caught us just busy circling this den. A lot of hyenas going towards the den, tracks of a lot of hyenas going towards the den, I should say. But nothing that really enters the den or looks like it's excavated the den at all. I actually want to take you there and show you. There's the den in the distance over there. That termite mound. And for those new viewers who have joined us, about a year ago now, this den was the place of activity, the hive of activity, as at the time there was two different sets of cubs, a slightly older one and then I think 2 or 3 youngsters that are now free-ranging wild hyena. And this den just had the most amazing interactions between lion and hyena and wild dog and hyena. This year, this den hasn't seen much action at all. In actual fact, it's been wholly ignored except for one exception with a female hyena that came here. Don't know what she was doing here, but she was in here for a little bit. I want to show you the actual den is even caved in. This used to be the entrance to one of the dens. And remember, there was also an entrance here underneath here, but it looks like it's been filled up by mud. And then here as well, this was where most of the activity was. Just double check that there's nothing living in here right now. You can see this bone, there's a bit of rib bone here. This is where the babies used to come out and play. This is a bit of rib bone that was bought for them to play with. And then here is another den. This one actually does look like it's seeing some activity, to be quite honest. You can actually see that it does look like there's some activity. I wouldn't say that it's hyena though, although that's just me being nonchalant and trying to. What is quite interesting is at the time we didn't notice females bringing in large carcasses, but when I'm standing over here, we've got bone shards that are washing out of the sand that has been kicked out of the hole itself. And we've got all these bone shards that were used as chewing toys. I mean, have a look at this. We've probably got, let me see if I can do a quick collection here for you, just to show you how many bone shards are actually here. This is all just in one area. That's a quick 2-minute, 20-second or whatever. Isn't it amazing? And they all form part of these hyenas' development structures. Hyenas obviously need to develop these muscles, the massive chewing muscles that they have needed to crush the bones that they eat. And from a very, very young age, hyenas just don't stop chewing. They just chew everything. They'll chew bushes, they'll chew branches. They quite often gnaw on these old bones. And that's exactly what we're seeing around these den sites, is these bones. As you can see, that was an old hyena pacifier, for lack of a better word. Right, that is actually quite interesting to see that there is some activity going on at this particular den. It's actually going to be nice to see what develops over time there. To me, is it something? No. Angie, you've asked me to do a hyena impression, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do that hyena impression for you. Definitely not. One of my fortes is making noises that come out of my mouth like James. He's definitely the best one to request. So I'll like to offset the responsibility of a hyena call onto Brent or James, who just love doing that sort of thing. Sorry, Angie. Right, now, as to what's making that hole. Ooh. That's a good question. That is a good question. I just want to see here and see if we can see any tracks at all. Now what is interesting is there are some of these flies that are associated with neighbors. Now, a couple of days ago on a walk, there's that fly there, the end of my stick. A couple of days ago on my walk, we were looking at a host of these flies at the entrance to one of these burrows in another termite mound, not the same one. And at the time, I thought that they were blood-sucking flies. And when I got home to camp, a viewer of ours called Leon all the way from the Netherlands, had done some research on the fly, or had done some previous research on flies. And he reckons that he recognizes this particular species of fly as being a type of blowfly. Now, blowflies in their adult form, this particular fly here, in its adult form, sorry, very dark inside. You may not be able to see. See if I can coax him into the light here. There you go. No, still not. There he is. Type of botfly, not a blowfly, type of botfly. Now, botflies, the adults, feed on feces. So they feed on the minerals and the nutrients in animals' feces. And Leon reckoned that the adults follow around things like ant bear and porcupine and wait specifically for their feces. Then the botfly larvae quite often either just bury into sand or they bury into the skin of an animal. Quite often you get these horrible lesions where the maggot of a botfly has gone into the host animal's skin, feeds on the host animal, and then erupts out of the skin as a fully grown fly. Can you imagine? It sounds like something out of a horror movie. And Leon reckoned that this particular fly is hanging around with these aardvark so that it has a host for its larvae. So definitely changed my story a little bit. So the presence of this fly tells me that there's probably something like a porcupine or an ant bear living inside this and not a hyena. All right, and on that note, I think we're going to send you over through to Brent, I think, and we'll catch up with you in a little bit.
So we're on the trail of the Nkuhuma lions. We've got tracks and tracks of cubs all over the place. And it looks like they are heading towards the west. So I just did a double check around here to make sure they didn't change direction and go to the east. So we're going to head towards there. So we've had quite a lot of tracks. We've had a single lioness coming towards where we think those tracks are heading. So hopefully we're going to get some luck. I've just got a report of a mass of vultures that Brian and I unfortunately missed. And guess what? We missed it because of the mist. There we go. So we didn't see those vultures. We were in that area, but the mist was so thick earlier this morning that we didn't see those vultures. So I think we're going to make our way back towards that mass of vultures. There are lion tracks going into that area, and who knows? Maybe there's a big buffalo that's retired in that spot, and that could make a lot of sense with all the hyena noise and lion noise in that area last night. And tracks of the pride are heading towards there, but I didn't see any tracks coming out close to it. But hopefully maybe they're en route. So no tracks coming out on hippo pools. So confident that those lions have headed west. Well, that's not a lion, but it is very pretty nonetheless. A little female Inyala by the looks of things. Heading down to have a drink in what is left of the Buffelshoek waterhole. Okay, I'm very excited. The prospect of vultures in the tree is always exciting. It means that there's definitely something that's expired. Oh, lots of Inyala. So Sandy's wondering, are there any confrontations between leopards and lions in the reserve, or do they try avoid each other? Well, yes, there are confrontations, Sandy, most definitely. While the lions don't try avoid the leopards certainly try avoid the lions. And it is very dangerous for a leopard to encounter even a lioness. Even a big male leopard like Tingana or Mvula will run and try get up a tree at the sight of a lioness, or try slink away without them noticing. If a lion can, it will kill a leopard, and they are very adept at killing. So, but leopards also very adept at getting away. Generally, if a leopard is killed by a lion, it's an older animal, or it's a young animal. Although there's always those freak occurrences where a leopard is caught unawares by a big lion. Lions are dangerous to all other predators. Hyenas are the only ones that have a little bit of a say every now and then, but that's only when there are no male lions around, only when they're lionesses. And on average, you need about 3 or 4 hyenas per lioness to have a good squabble. What did you see there, Brian? Fresh tracks. Lion, leopard? Lion. Oh, well spotted. Well spotted, Brian. It's a male lion and heading towards where those vultures are. Now, Angie in Ohio has asked for hyena impressions. Apparently, James is obliged. Steph is in Wisconsin. James is obliged and Steph is denied. So, what should we do, Brian? Should we oblige? We'll oblige. So, and speaking about hyena calls, before I oblige the hyena calls, quite interesting, there's some amazing studies going on with a lot of that stuff at the moment. And it turns out that about 80% of hyena vocalizations that we hear are made by males and are completely ignored by the rest of the clan. So it's probably because males are poor and so lowly in hyena society. They're probably walking around going, I'm looking for a friend. Please be friends with me. I'm just a lowly male. But anyway, that is not obviously my hyena impression. That's just what I think he might be saying while he whips his way through the African bush. So let's go. Let's do a couple. We've got a couple of different ones. One of my favorites, you don't hear in Juma too much. I used to hear it actually in Tanzania quite often. I used to call it the happy hyena. We used to go, woo. So, woo. And then we've obviously got the mournful hyena. Woo. Woo. And obviously the traditional. Woo. Woo. And there we go. It's amazing. Even with the different hyenas, you can hear they have different voices. So you get ones that are high like Brian's there, and you get ones that go woo or whoop, so much lower. So it is very interesting. I'm not going to try the maniacal cackle. Brian, do you want to try the maniacal cackle? Brian's thinking about it. While he thinks about it, also just discuss. Now, we're lucky enough to have seen hyenas whooping on the live drives, and how they use the ground to amplify the sound, so they face their mouth directly at the floor and whoop at the ground to amplify the sound. So hyenas worked out how to create speakers long before we did. So now we're coming back towards where those vultures were. Now, probably, half an hour ago, we were driving through here and we couldn't see more than 30 meters or 40 meters from the road, as it was completely inundated with mist. But it looks like it's going to turn into a spectacular winter's day, late winter's day. Now, hoping to spot those vultures shortly. Okay, so they are apparently just over this ridge, and that's why I'm driving a bit faster. We want to get there, want to get tracking, get finding the cats. Remember, if you have any questions for us, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or email questions@wildearth.tv. Now, are we going to see the great scavenging birds? I'm just going to have a look. Brian has spotted one of the scavenging birds. There we go. Look at that. There's some vultures. Okay, so we're going to go have a closer look in this area. While we do that, let's go see how Steph is faring on Shank's pony.
All right, so we've come down to Treehouse Dam, literally on a hunch. Herbert walked into camp this morning. When I asked which direction he wants to walk in, he said to me, I want to go to Treehouse Dam because Karula's tracks are going to be there. We're at Treehouse Dam, and that is a leopard track, and judging from the size of it, it's Karula's track. Now, how you tell leopard tracks is quite interesting, because quite often we tell you that they're leopard tracks. And we tell you that it's the 1, 2, 3 lobes at the back, and the angle that makes it there, the angle that's on that quite sharp angle that makes it a female track, the size, the fact that if you take a piece of grass and you measure the size of this track, it's only this big. Quite often I take a male leopard track will be as large as my fist. This one's obviously quite smaller. And it's just generally a nice time for me to use my tracking cards. Now, of course, I'm trying to find my leopard tracks here. Here's the leopard track. That is a male leopard track. Obviously, the front, this is the back foot track because the front foot is this bigger one here. Now, this is a male's track, so it's going to be a lot bigger than this particular one, but I always like to use grass. See, I take the back of the track, grass, and you break it off, and you can put it on this track, and you can see how much smaller Karula's track is to a male leopard track. Interesting, hey? Male leopard track about the size of my fist. You can see me putting it in here, about the size of my fist. This is just quite awesome to see. Now, I don't see any evidence of her cubs with her, so this is a hunting foray for Karula. So she's probably come down this road. She loves coming past Treehouse Dam. She's come down this road. This is a very fresh track. It's from last night. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us the opportunity to follow up and see where she's gone, which direction she's gone. She's got those 2 hungry mouths to feed, including her own. And at the moment, as you've been well aware, Karula has just been killing everything with a heartbeat at the moment. She's really been put under a bit of strain to fend and feed for her family, which is a good thing. She's a very, very good mom. Alrighty, let's put all this stuff, paraphernalia, back in my bag. I'm just astounded at this ability for Herbert and all the trackers, actually, all these professional trackers are really just brilliant at just deciding one day to go in a direction, predicting a particular track, and then finding it there at that exact place. Just is beyond my understanding, actually. Alrighty, so let's carry on going. It looks like she hasn't walked down the road for too much. In other words, what she's done is she's just literally just crossed onto a game path and is walking in the direction of about Vuyatela Dam. But while we follow up and see which direction Karula has gone in and where she's ended up today, we're going to send you through to James, who's got an update for you.
I'm coming. Good afternoon again. Good morning. Well, I suppose it must be afternoon for some people. We're sitting here at Cheetah Plains. We've come looking down for the lions, but I think they're off to the east of where we are now, west of where we are now, around Chitwa. But what we have found is a little herd of bachelor kudus, and they are having a good browse. Obviously not in any kind of state of sort of rut. That's all over, and so they've reformed their very friendly bachelor groups until the next time the females come into estrus, at which point they will decide they don't like each other at all. With the sun shining through this fellow's beard. He's got a beard and a mane, Viam. A little bit like you. You've also got a beard and a mane. I only have a beard. No mane anymore. Super shot there of the kudu's hind legs. Otherwise, it's all rather quiet here, but it's very pleasant being out, I've got to tell you. So we've come past where Viam and I last saw the cubs of the Styx Pride, those rather scrawny little fellows, sitting as they were in the elephant footprints left in the mud at Juma Dam, it's called, and there's nothing there now. And so we're going to make our way to the clearings, see if we can't find Inkanyeni. Perhaps she was successful with her stalking last night. They are not being particularly forthcoming, those kudus. Let's carry on. Perhaps Brent's vultures will yield some sort of predator for us to look at, but otherwise we'll just enjoy this late winter's morning. Hello, Kathy. You're wondering about the naming of animals, and you're saying when they cross onto different reserves, do the people on those reserves know them by the same names? For example, on Mala Mala. They certainly do around Chitwa, Cheetah Plains, Arathusa. They're all called the same thing in that sort of region. So in the northern Sabi sands, they're all called the same thing. They're not always when they go down south. As far as possible, people try and call them the same sort of thing. At Londolozi and Singita, for example, they don't give a name in the same way that we do up here in the north. So, for example, what we call Kunuma, they would call Kunuma male leopard. It's just a convention that they have. They try and make it slightly less kind of namey. I think we've discussed that before, if you know what I mean. So they normally will name a leopard after the territory that it lives in or after its spot pattern. But to the leopard it makes absolutely no difference, so I really don't mind. So that's what they do down south. But I know that, for example, the best example we have is that on Mala Mala, the Matimba males were known as the Clarendon males. They weren't known as the Matimbas. And then there was another leopard. In fact, another leopard or lion. In fact, the Birmingham boys are now being known by something else on Mala Mala. I forgot. It was the Gari males, that's right. They're known as the Gari males. So the Birmingham boys are known as the Gari males because this whole northern section of the Sabi Sand, I think, was largely known as Gari. So although Western Gari is Vuyatel, and I mean the names are just endlessly confusing, but that's the story there. So yes, up in the north the same, down to the south they can change, but we are all in touch. We're in touch with the guys down to the south on a WhatsApp group, and so everybody knows who everybody is. But some guys like to just call them different things. Of course, to the animals it makes no difference whatsoever. It's right here, bearded woodpecker. Look, this is unbelievable. There's a female bearded woodpecker, everybody, so close to us. This is amazing. Her partner just disappeared into the tree next door. You still see her? There she is. She's just next to us here. She's so close. I might have to try and get a photograph of her, but as I am the world's slowest wildlife photographer, the chances are very small. I haven't even managed to turn my camera on yet. Listen to him calling, her calling. I've now got no battery left. Gosh, I really depressed myself. At least VM's got her. I can't even find her in the camera lens, Kirsten. There we go, I've got her. She's going to fly away. Watch this. Focus. It won't focus. I'm going to have to get a manual. Now I can't find her anymore. There she is. Oh, it's so pathetic. Anyway, there's another one now popped up into the tree there. Look, there's the male. See with the red head? They're on the same little branch there. That was an absolutely pathetic example of wildlife photography, everybody. VM and I have been discussing perhaps, upgrading cameras. And, well, given my standard of skills, I don't think that would be a justified cost at the moment. So there's the male. I wonder if they're not trying to create a little nest there. Where's the female gone? They'll all be starting to look for excavating nests. The female VMP is on the right-hand fork, main right-hand fork. Yep. Just listen to them chattering away at each other. Now these chaps, unlike the lilac-breasted rollers which we saw going into a hole yesterday, which do not excavate their own holes, these chaps obviously are designed to excavate their own holes. There we go. And it's just gentle chattering to each other. Oh, this is amazing. What a fantastic shot. Might try another one, Vim. What are the chances? What do you give me?
5.
5 out of 10.
100.
Okay, here we go. I got her. She's about 4 pixels in size. Hopeless, hopeless, hopeless. I cannot believe I missed her sitting 2 meters from me. So she's preening, and I don't mean that in the sense when we say a human being preens. She's actually genuinely trying to fix her feathers, chattering away at the male, who... oh, he's come out into the open, VM, on the top there. Yeah, well done. But you really are on fire today, VM. Now watch his tail. You see how his tail braces him against the branch? Their tails are much more wiry and much harder than other birds' tails, so that they can brace themselves as they hammer away. And the tail is almost prehensile, like another foot. Helps him to climb up and down. This is fantastic. He looks like he's sort of moving closer to her now. Tasha, you say that I always say that they have a lot of girlfriends and wives, but how many can they actually have at one time? Do you mean the bearded woodpecker? I'm not sure. I'll check on the bearded woodpecker for you. I probably make comments like this about various animals, but the bearded woodpecker specifically I'm not sure about. Let me find out. I'll look it up on this spectacular bird app of mine, which is means that I don't actually have to remember anything, which is a good thing for you, everybody. Bearded woodpecker, breeding, monogamous, nests in holes, which we know, and sometimes parasitized by honey guides. So honey guides, if you don't know, everybody, are like cuckoos. Oh, look, just here again. I'm sure they're searching for a nesting site. So these chaps, Tasha, only one wife or husband each. They only lay eggs, though, April to December. Oh, well, so, I mean, they could be laying now. So they're totally, well, they're almost completely non-seasonal, but it does say May to August is a peak time for them to nest. This is unbelievable how close they are. I'd love to move out the way of this big, thick bush, everyone, but I think they'd fly off. Can you still see them okay, Viam?
No.
Or shall I try and move? They're so close. They're only about 4 meters away. Oh, they've flown off. Wasn't that a fantastic sighting? Gee whiz. Liam, would you like to see my picture? Let me show you my picture. I'll show you both pictures. I'll show you the first effort and then the second effort. Right, there's the... Can you see that? There we are. Very nice. That's the one I got. And thank you all for your screenshots. Oh, I did get one picture. She was looking away and not in focus. Right, good. Thank you, everybody, for all of your lovely screenshots, which will be unquestionably better than my photographs, even though I was sitting right next to the thing. Well done, Viam. Lucky I'm not on camera. Justin, really, I'm not sure. Viam is now falling about the place in the back of the car. He finds your question so utterly amusing. You say, do I have any good tips for you regarding wildlife photography? Justin, I'm not the right guy to ask. Brent, far more experienced, far more skillful. He's a good guy to ask. Scott was also excellent at it. Yeah, you know, from what I've read, really I haven't applied any of this. From what I've read, it's largely about the composition of the photograph than the equipment, you know, far more than the equipment or the various settings and things. If you have an eye for framing, that's where the art of the whole thing comes. And I just definitely don't have it in the same way Scott had that, for example, beautifully. But the other thing, I mean, Justin, if you're getting into wildlife photography, so I suppose if you're a novice like I am, then for me this little camera of mine is quite nice because what it does, although it's slow, you know, it does make me even slower than I am normally, but what it does is that it's got this kind of digital representation of what you see when you are taking a photograph, which means that you can run it on full manual and see exactly before you've taken the photograph what it's going to look like. And I think that's been a really good way for me to learn the differences between taking photographs at different f-stops and different ISOs and different shutter speeds. So yeah, that would be my advice. Get a camera that you can operate in full manual and then you can really learn about it. But other than that, I would ask Brent the same thing. Okay, let's head across. I think we're going across to Brent for an update. Let's get an update from him and I'll catch up with you in the clearings.
Well, we're still hot on the trail of Karula and she still looks like she's hunting. Here is her track. You can see how fresh that is. You can see that the sand is still very depressed. Over there, almost shiny in actual fact. If I had to take my hand, for instance, and push it into the sand, you'll notice the same clean pressed quality over there as what this track has. Have a look at that. So the sand hasn't had a time to roll down these embankments or to decompress. And you can just have a look at that. Very, very good looking track. It's what trackers call a shining track. It's the track that you most likely to find an animal at the end of, is a track like this. Now, she looks like she's hunting. She is walking on a road. We've been following her on a road a little bit. Animals like to walk on roads. They like to walk on game paths, luckily. Otherwise, we'd have a much tougher time finding them. And I don't see any evidence of her cubs with her. So what she's done, in all likelihood, is stashed her cubs somewhere and is off hunting. This would have most likely have been at some point in the last 4 hours or so. It takes about 4 hours for a track to start losing this particular type of crispness. And so she would have been here already around about 2 to 3 o'clock this morning, or as literally as little as 30 minutes ago. Quite tough to say. What we'd be looking for is tracks of birds over this. So that'll give me an idea of when. If birds are more likely to come across a track like this, then we know it was done pre-dawn. And if it's just insects over tracks, we know that it was done, or post-dawn at least. Then we know if it's just insects, it was pre-dawn. Right now, nothing has walked on top of Karula's tracks except for us. Nice. Right. Well, while we carry on looking for a leopard, Brent is sitting with some lions for you. Wow.
Look at that. Cheeky little cub. Sorry guys, I've just got to be on the game drive. We've just found them. There we go. These two little ones seem to be terrorizing the Birmingham boy. They're two Birmingham boys. We can only see one. And look at him, scent marking. Sorry guys, there's a lot of noise in my ear, but I'm going to ignore it now. So we're with the whole Nguma Pride. So our general mission for the morning has been a success. It sounds like they have, well, I know they've killed a buffalo, and I walked in here, and we found them on foot. And it actually happened that Aubrey and I both found them at about the same time from a different direction. So they got a bit of a fright. They ran away from the buffalo kill, but I'm 100% sure they're going to move back to it shortly. And it's all 5 lionesses and 2 Birminghams that I can see. There could be a third, who knows. So there's 1 Birmingham there. There's the second lioness. And then the cubs are spread between all of them. Now, there could only be 5 cubs here at the moment. There could be 8. It just depends. We don't know whether that single lioness has left the smallest cubs hidden away and will only bring them to the carcass a little later. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 cubs. 5 cubs. Now, Sally in Oregon says she gets nervous with males around the cubs. It is, oh, hello, Ma. It is quite normal, and they are going to have to get used to it and know when and when not to push the big boys. You can hear the vultures in the trees around us. And isn't that incredible? We could not see the vultures early this morning just because of all the mist. What's going on now? Come on, girls. Time to go back to your dinner. Now, Michael's wondering, why is it when lions kill other predators, they don't eat the carcass, whereas hyenas seem to do that? Well, it depends on how hungry they are. I'm pretty sure they don't taste too good, leopards and other lions and hyenas. Hyenas are the ultimate scavenger, so they will take advantage of any food source possible. Okay, there we go. Lioness is up, and she's going to start heading towards the carcass. I just need to let Aubrey, they're going to all start heading towards the carcass. Okay, so I'm going to try make my way through this very thick, very, very thick bush to try get to where Aubrey is with the buffalo kill. So I do apologize if there's lots of noise. It's going to be quite an adventure getting through here. So while we do that, let's go back to James and see what he's up to.
Well, that's a good turn up for the books, isn't it? The lions, brilliant stuff. Hopefully they'll start feeding on that carcass fairly soon, and then there will be great activity. We have arrived in the great plains of Cheetah, and hoping desperately to find something in these clearings, maybe in Kanyeni. We're going to go to the sort of last position where she was stalking yesterday, but maybe there will be some ostriches, and I will be able to attempt the great ostrich attracting dance that we did the other day. But things look fairly empty out here, don't you, Savium? Let's just move very slowly down through here. Hello, Vincent in Ohio. I'm just going to look over there across to those clearings, and you see the far clearings there where that pile of sticks is there, Vium. You say you're thinking of coming to Africa, and where is the best place to see rhino and giraffe and what was the other one? Cheetah. Rhino, giraffe and cheetah. Well, Vincent, there are a number of places. It really does, as I've said before, many times, depend quite a lot on your budget. If you want to see rhino and giraffe and cheetah, well, rhino and giraffe you can see just about anywhere. Here in the Kruger, you can see them in some of the Natal parks down Mfolozi and Hluhluwe, for example. You can see them in some of the private reserves around what we call the Waterberg, which is up to the north of us. But if you want to see all three of those things and you want to see them in great profusion, I would say the best place to see them is a place called Pinda. And Pinda is in northern KwaZulu-Natal, and it's a magnificent reserve that was reclaimed from farmland. Brent did quite a lot of his growing up, actually, at Pinda. And Pinda is famous for its cheetah. You will definitely see giraffe there, and they've got plenty of rhino, both black and white. So I would go to Pinda, Vincent. But it does depend on your budget. It ain't a cheap holiday at Pinda. I mean, supreme luxury, but it's not very cheap. So it really does depend on your budget. If you come to Kruger, you've got a good chance of seeing rhino and giraffe. Smaller chance of seeing cheetah because it's just quite difficult to see them here. All right, let's go across to Brent. I think he's back with the lions.
Okay, so the first lioness is arriving back. The vultures, some of them have taken off. The others are being a little bit brave. There's a couple still low. And if we come out, Brian... Oh, no, it didn't wait. It decided to get off the ground. I have seen lions kill vultures around a kill before. Okay, well, they're moving into that carcass. So it looks like they killed the buffalo. I think this might have been killed by the male and a single female yesterday, because the rest of the pride weren't around, and these vultures were here apparently yesterday on the sunset safari, but were seen right at the end of the safari. Okay, we'll just let her pass first. And then the rest of the pride are moving in. And we'll try and get into a good spot shortly. That's amber eyes. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the males get in here. Looks like a big buffalo bull. Quite smelly. So, there we go. The other lions are going to come in from behind us. There we go. That's... Here we go. Here they come. Jason says, cubs by a feeding male, very intense to watch. It is, but the male lions are generally more tolerant of cubs eating with them than they would be with, for example, one of the adult lionesses. And they might be a little bit nervous about feeding because there are two males that are still coming in behind us. And she's calling for the cubs. The first of the cubs is arriving. Now, I think all the audio we heard last night of hyenas and lions would have been because of this carcass. Now, unfortunately for us, the best spot happens to be directly downwind of this quite smelly buffalo. Brian, can you do me a favor? Look over your shoulder, see if any of the males are on the way. Not yet. So there we go. You can see the one lioness is going to take advantage before the males arrive. Listen to that. All the noises. So I'm just keeping quiet and watching what's going on. Now there's something going on that's sending the lions back away. They're acting quite strange. And you see the cubs immediately follow. Is there greeting going on behind us, or? I'm not sure. Let's just move a little bit. Unfortunately, we can get away from this quite pungent smell we're experiencing at the moment. Now, if you've ever had a deep freeze stop working, that's exactly what it smells like. A deep freeze that hasn't been working for about 2 weeks. Now, the possibility of what could be happening is it could be that the 3 smallest cubs are not feeling as brave. There's probably been lots of hyenas not too far away from here. Oh, I'm just going to sit here and wait. I'm not sure what spooked them. Now, Andrew's wondering, are there any animals that can kill a male lion? Yes, Andrew, another male lion. And if he's in fine form or in his prime of his life, it's generally going to be another male lion, an elephant possibly, a buffalo, rhino, a hippo. There's one lioness still here. The others have moved back to where we first found them, where the males are. Now, I wonder if they've heard a male lion that we haven't heard. That might not be a Birmingham boy. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. This lioness might be staying to protect the carcass from vultures. There's lots of vultures around. Okay, she looks like she's heading back to the carcass, making sure no vultures even think about it. Now, again, she's also moving off again. Now, is she going to move quite far off? Or is she going to lie down close by again to make sure the vultures don't come through? It looks like she is going to follow the rest of the pride. Okay, I think we're going to go see what's happening with the rest of the pride. And again, we're going to have to go through these very thick little monkey oranges, so it does make an incredible noise. And very interesting behavior we're seeing now. And I think it's too early to speculate what's going on. So I think we just need to watch for a little bit longer before we start making any assumptions about what's cracking. Okay, so while we try to figure out what's going on with these lions and catch up with them again, let's go see how Steph's tracking of Queen Karula is going.
Particular case not going too well. We seem to have lost the tracks going into a particularly hard sanded block, which is not too much of a story. We'll eventually find where she came out of this block, but all the time how we do it is we basically crisscross all the game paths in that area in the line that they were in, the direction that that leopard was walking in. The direction Karula was walking in was straight east, and we hope to find her tracks on one of the game paths exiting this quite, where we are now is quite sandy, but where we lost her tracks just now was definitely not. So we've come into an area that holds tracks a little bit easier, and in the hope that we find where that goes. And in the meantime, it's always a good thing, while we're busy walking, you stop and you listen. As Karula is moving through this area, she is going to be disturbing animals. Things like nyala, a lot of nyala around at the moment, quite a few impala, and then monkeys also. The little vervet monkeys are feeding in the riverbeds close to where she's heading. In that easterly direction, she's heading down towards the Mulwati and basically in the direction of Voyatela camp. So I have no doubt that she'll pop out at some point. Either we will hear her or we'll find her this afternoon. But in the meantime, it's just lovely to be on a stroll in this particular area. There's a bit of a breeze that's blowing out of the east at the moment, and it's carrying with it a it's slightly cold, but it's also carrying with it a scent. And I think what's happened is there's a few acacias around here, a few of the knobthorns that have started to flower. And I think this perfumed air that we're smelling at the moment is from these first acacias that are busy flowering. Now, Anna Marie, you've asked me for a snake. Could I find a snake? I'll be honest with you that it's going to be really difficult to find you a snake this time of the year, and especially this time of the day. Most snakes are in a type of slumber, not quite a hibernation, but they go into a period of deactivity when prey species are at a minimum, when there's not a lot of water around, and when the temperature is quite cold. So apart from puff adder, which we do find in the middle of the day here, it's just a small window of opportunity to see snakes. Around about, I would say 11 to about 2 o'clock is the prime time window for snakes at the moment. So way too early for them. However, I'm not saying that we won't find them, and for you, I'll definitely keep my eyes open. Things like birds giving alarm calls, and then also sunny patches on the sides of termite mounds are brilliant places to look for snakes around this time of the year, and that's exactly what I'm going to hope to try and find for you. Right, let's move through here, Xander. See if we can get your aerial threaded through these trees. Right, and while we keep on looking at game paths, and just as an example of a game path, this is a game path. You can see that it's an area moving between those two trees and then it goes left. That's basically what we're searching all these paths for Karula's tracks. But while we do that, and while we have something else to show you, James has an elephant. Off you go.
It's a fairly nervy herd of elephants here in Cheetah Plains, everybody. It's just come south from the pan. It was having a drink there. They were having a drink. 5 of them. They just don't seem that relaxed, but as we stop the car, they're starting to slow down their movements. I think they're probably going to go and find some woodland to feed in. The matriarch up front there. And I suspect probably one other adult and the rest of her offspring. Small herd. And I said to you at the beginning of this dry season, I said, these herds congregate. They get much bigger and aggregate during the wet season because the water is so much more concentrated. And that really, I don't think, has happened this year at all. In fact, if anything, the opposite has happened. And maybe that's because their diets are so widely sort of dispersed and they eat such a wide variety of different foods. All right, let me move forward. They seem to have relaxed a little bit with us. Hello, Andrew. I'm not sure I heard your question correctly, but you say, are there any animals that have no fear of danger? Is that correct? Andrew, I think there are some that have very little fear, but any animal, remember every single animal out here has got a predator, if not a few predators. I'm just going to speak quietly and we're going to watch the matriarch there. That's not the matriarch, obviously, that's a youngster. The matriarch is just to the right there, and she's the one that when we walked up, she lifted her front foot, and she was just a little bit nervous. Andrew, I think that if you look at things like polar bears, what else? Polar bears and perhaps crocodiles. I think adults of polar bears and crocodiles probably don't experience anything like the same amount of fear, or I'm not sure you can term it fear, but sort of a predator avoidance strategies that many of the animals out here have. An adult polar bear clearly has no predators, nor does a big adult crocodile. But when they're little, they do have predators, and they have other things that can threaten them. Crocodiles would be threatened by drought situations like this. Polar bears, of course, threatened by climate change, threatened by changing environmental conditions, and if they can't find enough to eat, well then, it's quite possible that they could die. So, do they fear predators? No, probably not. Do they experience a sense of what we might term fear? Yes, I imagine that they do. It's a very nice question, Andrew. And we were trying to define, Brian and I were chatting the other day about what fear actually is. How do you define it for an animal like this? Does an impala actually feel fear, or does it just go about its life in a state of constant terror and not actually realize that it's going through a constant state of terror? All right, let's quickly go back to Brent. He's got the lions walking past his car. Find out about his fear.
I might go back to that kill, but... Oh dear. We are live. My earpiece was out. Sorry about that. I'm just discussing what they might do. And they've... Oops, sorry, hat. They're definitely nervous about something. It could be because of the amount of hyenas that were making noise last night with the cubs around. And also, it looks like one of the male lions has amorous intentions with one of the females. And the three smallest cubs are not here. And it's unlikely that they will all go to fetch them. And as I see, they stop. Some of the lionesses have stopped. They're looking back towards the carcass. They're listening. I'm pretty sure they can hear the vultures descending on it. But with cubs, they've probably decided it's not worth the risk if they're not feeling comfortable. They've eaten a reasonable amount. Now, only one male seems to have followed. The second male might head back towards that carcass. Now, I've got a suspicion that these ladies did not kill that buffalo. I think, if anything, one of the males did. And the reason I think that is because the smell of that buffalo is definitely not a kill from yesterday. I think that kill's been there for a day or two, and we must have just missed the vultures. Okay, let's just go forward a bit. I don't want to lose them, but I can see the male's got lazy in his following. Both males are coming through now. Now, one of the two lionesses that doesn't have cubs yet must be either in estrus or about to come into estrus for these two chaps to... Three! There's three males. Oh, look at that. Coalition love. It's always incredible how affectionate these big boys can be when not competing for food or females. So there's three Birminghams here. I only saw two earlier. Hello, big boys. That's Mr. Split in the Lip. They are turning into magnificent animals as their coats or their manes get darker. Now, see, this throws credence to my theory that it was one of them who killed it. Look at this guy. He's so much, the one at the back is so much fatter than the other two. Smelling where one of the females urinated. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see a phlegm and grimace shortly. Oh, it's so nice to have three of them together. Oh, big boys, smelling. There's the phlegm and grimace. There we go. I think she's about 5 days from being ready to mate. No, I disagree. 4 days is what I say. So all 3 males smelling where one of the females urinated. So they're taking that scent over their Jacobson's organ, and that will pass on information like estrus cycles, all those type of things. I'm very, very interested in where she's where she's urinated. They do look slightly ridiculous when they are doing the phlegm and grimace. Now, the fact that 3 male lions have left that much meat on a buffalo really leads me to believe that one of those females is very close to being an estrus. Let's just move a little bit. Off after the ladies. Now, Shamsung's wondering, why do male lions scent mark when they're close to cubs? Well, it's not only when they're close to cubs, Shamsung, it's male lions scent mark all the time. That's sort of part and parcel of what they're designed to do. Sorry, it was Mary Ann's question. I'm just focused so much on what's happening around us. I apologize for getting those mixed up. Okay, he's on the move. What we're going to do is try to get ahead to where the females and cubs are again, because the males will follow. So I'm going to go a little bit wider from them and around to where there's a slightly more open patch of bush for me to negotiate. Aubrey. So while we get into that position, let's go see how James is doing in the far east.
Everyone, we've left those elephants. We sat with her for a little while, and then we tried to move a little bit closer, and she kind of came bucketing out the bush towards us. So we moved off, and she followed us down the road for some time and made a bit of a noise. Very strange, so I just thought we'd move away and rather not harass her any further. But right from the very beginning, a lovely sighting of what I think is a bird we do not see here very often at all. It's a striped kingfisher, I think. You see it there? Or has it flown off? Sorry everyone, I think we missed the striped kingfisher. It's like, almost like a brown-hooded kingfisher, but half the size. And this is not woodland king, at least this is not brown-hooded kingfisher kind of territory. So that would have been really nice. Please can someone let me know if you've seen striped kingfisher? I haven't seen them since I've been here at Djuma, and I used to see them quite a lot down in the south. Lovely swizzling call. Anyway, that elephant was not happy with us, and so we left her. We watched her for a little while, and she came up onto a termite mound and kind of gave us a bit of a groan. And then as we walked, we drove past her at about 20 meters. She just turned and came, and so we thought we'd probably better leave. I don't think VM and I either of us felt like she was going to do a tremendous amount of damage, but she was definitely going to hit the car. Anyway, so we decided to leave her. It's an interesting one. There are lots of different approaches that people have to dealing with elephants like that. Some people think that it's a good idea to bang the car and stop, or leave the engine running, certainly if she's already in charge. Certainly Stefan, my approach is one that if an animal like that says, well, I don't really want you around, you just leave. I'm under no false illusions as to who's the boss. You'll sometimes hear people say, well, you've got to show them who's boss. I agree completely. They know exactly who's boss. I'm under no illusions. Anyway, We'll try and find some others. We'll go towards 3 in a row pan. Oh, duiker. Liam, you reacted there like a scalded cat. Liam saw a duiker, everybody. He doesn't normally react when he sees a duiker. Anything that moves. Unless it's a kudu or a giraffe. Giraffe move. Now, the other thing I'm trying to find over here, everyone, is a fig tree. I was reading about the fig trees yesterday, 2 days ago. Oh, here's some more elephants. Let's see if these ones like us a little bit more than the others did. Oh, this is a big herd. There's a very large roadblock going on here. This is very nice. Good stuff. Now, immediately these ones indicate that they are a lot more relaxed than the others. The first thing I noticed about that first cow we saw was the fact that she stopped, turned her head slightly, lifted her front leg, and sort of swung it from side to side as she thought about what we wanted and assessed whether we were a threat to her herd. That's not happened here. These chaps have just carried on eating, and I say chaps, I mean that's a big cow there you're looking at. There's another big cow coming out to the right-hand side of us. All right, let's go back to the lions. They're now moving again.
So the females and cubs have already gone into this river system. I can hear them, but I can't see them. And the one male is about to join them in the thickets there. We still do have 2 males out in front of us, but I think they're probably going to head that way shortly. Oh, they're going to be nice and lie down. I thought they were going to disappear into the river. It's so awesome to have 3 of the Birmingham boys. We haven't seen too many of them all together for a while, so hopefully the 4th will also make an appearance. I can hear the cubs. They're just in here. It sounds like they're fighting over suckling. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. Mom just told them to stop it. Can you see anything in there, Brian?
No.
It is an impenetrable area. Should we have a try? Let's have a see if we can see anything. We can hear them, so they are close. Oh, look at that. We don't want to drive over his bottom. That's the male. Oh, it looks like we might get a half chance. We can see 2 of the lionesses grooming. The cubs are a bit further in. Noisy little critters. And, probably about 6 foot to our right is one of the Birmingham boys. But we're going to try see if we can maneuver through here. While we do that, let's go back to James and incredible elephants.
Nice shot. Liam doing some beautiful artwork there, everybody. Here these elephants are doing a bit of bush clearing, much more relaxed than the other chaps, and they are basically just feeding through this woodland, eating bark and rootstock. That's all they can find to eat. There's not much else for them to get at here. And quite a few of them, and 2 enormous cows. And I wonder if that's why they're not more relaxed than the other ones. It's entirely possible that because they're so big, they're that much more experienced, that much older, and so they've seen cars before. And as Vian pointed out to me, that other herd could easily have come out of the Kruger, which means they don't see vehicles nearly as much as these ones, especially not open-topped ones with 2 people in them and that very large aerial sticking out the back. So maybe that's why they were unhappy with us. Anyway, this lot doesn't seem to care much at all about us. Interesting wind blowing today. Seems to be coming from the northeast. That is strange. That means it's coming up off the Indian Ocean. That's where the cyclone storms come from. You can just see it starting to pick up now. Oh, that's really quite eerie the way it whistles through these trees. It's been such a still morning. Sometimes, very subtly, you can smell the sea on the wind that comes out the northeast. And she's just chewing, listening to me. And for those of you who are watching the Djuma Dam pan, there's a lioness eating there, or not eating, she's drinking there. I'm sure it's the mother of the 3 little ones. We didn't know where they were, and watch her carefully. I suspect that what she will do is head off in an easterly direction away from the pan towards Mvubu Road, I suspect, and into that drainage system there. I think that's where her babies are. Now this elephant looks to me like she's listening to me talking, not particularly interestedly, but that she's listening to my voice while she eats her breakfast, thinking, I wonder if he's telling the truth, or perhaps she's so experienced and so wise that she's thinking to herself, what an idiot. Look how she's totally cleaned that branch of bark. Oops, I've pulled myself out. James Richard, I did pull myself out there, so I'm sorry, I don't know if I got your question correctly, but from what I could hear, you're wondering, given their longevity, do they get cataracts and other things like that, or diseases or maladies that might come with age in the same way that humans do? James, ooh, what's this? I think this tree's going to cop it. James, I don't think so, no. And I'll tell you why I don't think so. Look at this. Oh, wow. Well, that's just a little piece of it. That's okay. Another delicious piece of bark to eat. She's trying to get it in her mouth so she can just pull it off. It's hard work being an elephant and finding enough to eat. James, as with the cancer discussion that we've had, and I'm sure you've heard us have, the diabetes one that we've had, I think you'll find that most of the diseases that affect human beings in old age are possibly not brought on by old age, but rather by lifestyle and what we eat. And yes, I imagine cataracts are possible in these wild animals. Remember, it would be unlikely that we'd see them because they'd die very quickly if they went blind. But I think it's much less likely than it is in domestic stock or in human beings, because these animals live in the environment that they have for millennia and millennia, and sometimes millions of years. They eat what they evolved to eat. They have a lifestyle that they have got used to for many, many thousands, and like I say, in some cases millions of years. Human beings, not so much. We live in big cities, we inhale horrible things, we eat absolute rubbish, and we take all sorts of supposedly disease-preventing medicines, and we live lives of high stress and very little exercise, and then we are deeply surprised when we get sick. And I think you'll find that most of the animals out here just don't suffer from those diseases because they don't live like that. Another good example is of domestic pets. You know, domestic pets get all sorts of cancers and horrible diseases, and I think that's got to do with what we feed them as well. I know that much of the most expensive dog foods you can buy, for example, have grains. No dog is evolved to eat grains. That's so nice to see. I don't want to move forward because she's having such a lovely breakfast and we've got such a lovely long lens on this car, so I don't think we need to move forward. The rest of them are just easing their way down into the dip to the south of us. And you know, while we're looking at this elephant eating the bark and the cambium layer that she's been designed to eat, people out here in these wilderness areas, in these villages, the poverty-stricken people that live in the villages where, outside the reserve, many of them, they say that the human lifespan, has expanded. I suppose we have more people live to old age now than they ever did before. But you find old people in these villages who are not infirm, who are not senile. They don't get mental dementia, hardly ever hear of that. They don't get, yes, they do sometimes get cataracts, but they're just a lot more vital, than old people often in Western society, where I think our lifestyles have really taken a toll on our bodies. Whereas even if you're poor, there's quite a lot of relaxing and sitting around that goes on, and I think that makes a big difference to our ability to live to old age in good health. This is an amazing shot, yes. Isn't that incredible? That poor tree must, every time the elephant takes another piece off, I'm sure it thinks to itself, I should be okay now. And then this very hungry elephant cow takes another piece off. See how important the tusks are and the trunk, and you can see how an elephant that does not have one or the other, or is missing a tusk, or we've seen a number of elephants recently that are missing trunks, you can see how it must affect them, but they adapt. Now that's a piece of red thorn, or at least red bush willow that's being eaten there. The densest wood that we get here, which means it's the strongest wood that we get here. 1,230 kilograms per cubic meter. Now in imperial measure, that is roughly 2,500 pounds per cubic, per 3 cubic feet. Yeah, per 3 cubic feet. No, 9 cubic feet. Per 9 cubic feet. I don't know if that's how you measure density in the 18th century, but that's basically how it is in the imperial system. So it's massively hard, very difficult to break. And what I'd like to do, if we still have time, once this elephant moves off, I'll go off and I'll hang from a tree of the same, and you'll see that even my vast mass of 68 kilograms doesn't manage to break a tree like that. Shall we move a little bit closer? Oh, there goes the rest of the tree. I'm just going to do that. Oh, shame. And as I do this, everybody, what I want you to take note of is the fact that this is not this tree's first rodeo. That tree has been hammered many times before. This is not the first season of smashing that it has taken. And you might even find that that entire agglomeration there to the right-hand side of your picture and then to the left, that is one organism. You could well find that that's one tree. goodness. Isn't that amazing? You can also see why these tusks break, and how any kind of weakness in the tusk could result in a snap. You've had enough now, have you? She's huge. She's a massive cow. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, madam. I don't know if you can hear in the background, you can hear another tree being felled. Wimpy, just off to our left-hand side, there's another herd. And let's just watch carefully, see if that big cow in the front there has got more than one tusk. She does. It's not the same herd that set themselves at us earlier. Now this cow in front of us is listening. She's listening to these ones. She's reacted to how they're moving. Right, well, as she moves off, let's head across to the lion cubs and see what's going on with them.
So they've gone static about 800 meters from the kill on the edge. That doesn't make sense, does it, Leah Smith? Well, this massive little, I did it again, this massive river system. It's quite big in this area with these very steep ravines. And Brian and I have managed somehow to get into the ravine, but this is the best view. We're sitting at quite the angle. It's quite nice because I'm permanently reclining because our nose is feeling up. Brian is permanently about to fall off the vehicle on the back. But it is the only way we can get a view of them at the moment. So I think we're going to leave them. It looks like they're settling down. I think there's a strong possibility that they might try go back towards that buffalo carcass a little later, depending on how they're feeling. But the males are still lying out in the open. So we were trying to get you the best possible view of the little cubs. But unfortunately, alas, this is the best view, and it's not the greatest. So what we're going to do is probably move from here and get back up on top to where we can see those gorgeous Birmingham boys. You can see I'm at permanent recline. I don't even have to try. And while I recline my way out of this river system and hopefully don't lose Brian, let's go see how Steph's doing on foot.
All right, we've got such a nice story developing with these leopard tracks. It's actually quite interesting. Is that where we first found Karula's tracks at Treehouse Dam this morning, she walked a little bit of a circle and then she walked through a drainage line, changed direction almost 180 degrees. She's now walking parallel to the path that she came in on. She's now walking parallel through the bush, but she's joined a male's tracks. So what's happened is Karula's come to Treehouse Dam, and a male leopard has also been to Treehouse Dam. But the male leopard was walking in the direction of Karula's cubs. She was walking away from another direction. What's happened now is she's changed her mind, and they are now walking parallel, and tracks are the same age as one another. Male leopard and Karula. Karula's cubs are on this side of me here, somewhere in the block here. She is, in my mind, blocking this male from walking in the direction he wanted to walk in. Their tracks are parallel to one another. He has come and marked on this particular tree, and I want to show you where his tracks were. He lay down here, just on the other side of this bush. Let me show you where his tracks come in. That piece of depressed sand is where a male leopard has lain down. I want to show you where his tracks come into this area and then go out. This is where he lay. Now to find you a nice track, here we go. This is his track here. You can see the toes and the sand there. Now the wind has picked up in the last sort of 20 minutes, so it doesn't look as fresh as what it was looking literally 10 or 15 minutes ago. But these leopard tracks are the same tracks from at the same time that Karula sent them. And here he walked here, there's his next track, here's his next track here, here's his next track here. And then he lay down here to groom himself. There's also a hyena here. I thought that him and a hyena may have had a bit of a scrap with one another, but it just looks like he lay down. And then he came here. Here's where he left again. Have a look at what we're looking at. That's literally a fresh male leopard track, all this area here. And then from here, he walked to that tree. And let me show you. Come with for this little piece of the journey. Step, 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 step. Here can confirm his track again. There's his track there. 1, 2, 3 toes that I can see and some of the pad. And then here he went. Here he went. There's another track there. And then he walked right up to this tree. Here's a track here, the back of his pad. There's a toe. 1 toe, 2 toe, 3 toes. And there's one piece of his pad. And then he walked here. And if you look up, the trick with leopards is to always look up and almost to get down to their head level and look up. And if I take a vector of where he's going to go, I expect him to be heading towards that marula tree over there for another dab of scent marking. So let's go and have a look there for his tracks. Hopefully I can at the same time show you Karula's tracks here. Her tracks are just on a game path here somewhere. Let's see if I can find them for you here. Her tracks are coming through here somewhere, but I'll just keep my eye open so that I can show you, prove my point. Here's some more of his tracks. Here's this male leopard track here. Yeah. Now the trick with these types of things is not really to follow the track for track. It's going to take you too long. What you really want to do is try and project in your mind where this leopard is going to be, and that's what we're going to try and do now, to try and save some time. But in the meantime, we're going to send you back to James, and we'll have some more news in a bit.
Hello everybody. VM likes to surprise you. So I'm here on this tree. It is 2 organisms, there are 2 different species of tree here, but I'm sitting on the piece of tree that she broke with her trunk, and I still can't break it any further because she is so strong and I am not. Amazing. Right, so this is the red bush willow. Now I've got VM, who is always hungry. Well, not as hungry as Connor, but somewhat hungry. I got him some chips. You can see I've presented them beautifully. I have carved them with my knife from the tree, and that is what the elephant has been eating. VM, here you are. Mmm. Mmm. Is that delicious?
Fruity.
It's fruity, is it?
No, but not in taste and texture.
And in taste?
Tastes like sawdust.
Not very nice, is it? It's actually amazingly bitter. Ugh. Yeah, not as good as the acacia. Right. Then this one here is a roundleaf teak, and that one there is a common false thorn or Albizia harveyi, and you can see all of them here have been taken out over the years by many elephants coming past, doing exactly what we saw that cow doing there. And then the other thing that VM pointed out to us, well, or that I picked up, was that this is the stick that we saw her eating, but if you look around it, you can see that there is elephant saliva on this stick. But I might take this home and try and turn it into something of a walking stick for me. We'll see. We'll let it dry first, I think, before I do too much with it. We'll let VM sit in the back with it. There you are, VM. I'll wash my hands before I have my breakfast in not too long. Right, we're going to go just past 3 in a row pan, and then we'll press on to see what is on for breakfast. But let's see if there aren't maybe 1 or 2 creatures having a drink at 3 in a row. I found very little having a drink at Cheetah Plains lately, and I don't know why that is. I think maybe there are a couple of other lodges around the place that are pumping water as well, which means that the animals are not sort of driven towards 3 in a row pan quite as readily as they have been in the past. It's just around the corner here. And these elephants, I think they've probably been drinking there and they've gone sort of wandering down towards the south. It's getting a bit windy, VM. Right, here we are. And both Brent and I keep saying maybe quarantine male leopard will be here in his favourite marula tree or on his favourite termite mound. I've yet to see him here. I think Brent's seen him here a few times. Nope. There's an oxpecker, VM. There's one single solitary oxpecker having a drink there. Marilee, you're wondering about terrapins and how they survive the dry seasons. Do they get through the dry season? Do they manage to sort of survive in the water, or do they die and then are they replaced by other terrapins? Marilee, I think what you'll find is that most of them go into a state of estivation. Estivation is a state that they go into during the wet, at least during the dry, and I'll tell you why I'm losing concentration slightly. Just look over there, Vimpy, there's a dove sitting on the ground. Now doves do not nest on the ground. What that dove is sitting on, I can't imagine. He's just behind. There he is. Marilee, I will get back to you. I just don't. That's very odd behaviour to me. There's nothing there, is there, Viam? There's no eggies. No. Just looked like it's sitting on eggs. Maybe it's just being amusing. Maybe about to lay eggs. Anyway, Marilee, they go into estivation, which means they'll find a piece of mud, or they'll go into a termite mound or something like that, and they'll shut down the physiology, basically, the metabolism, and they go into a sort of temporary state of hibernation, if you like. But they are not dead after one season in the water, no. I mean, I think if the dry lasts for long enough, I think you'll find that many of them, especially the little ones, will definitely die. But they're designed to last many, many years. You know, a lot of the chelonids, is what we call them, the tortoises, the terrapins, the turtles, and the... Have I left one out? No, I haven't. The tortoises, terrapins, and turtles live for many, many years, and in some cases well over 100 years. And I don't know if you've read about this thing that's been doing the rounds on social media, but there's they found... You know, we're talking about long-lived organisms, we're talking about those elephants. They found a shark in Greenland, the Greenland shark, that apparently is 400 years old. That is quite astounding. 400 years old, 150 before its first mating, 150 before it was sexually mature. Absolutely boggles the mind. 400 years ago was the year 1616. That was before European settlement of this country. And, well, I mean, it's just a very long time ago. Let's head back across to Brent. He's got some more cats for you.
So unfortunately, we can't get the best view of the females, but these two Birmingham boys look very comfortable. I mean, there's a new definition of putting your legs up on your brother. So they are lying out quite out in the open here on Gowrie Cutline, but I'm quite certain they are going to move into the shade later on today. I'm really fascinated to see if these lions make their way back towards that buffalo carcass. The hippos. The vultures are feeding. I don't know where that came from. The vultures are feeding at the moment. I can actually, as the wind gusts every now and then, I can hear them. And I wonder if the hyenas are going to get involved there as well. Now, Paige in Tennessee is wondering, why have Amber Eyes and the youngest lioness not fallen pregnant yet? They've mated with the Birmingham several times. Well, it's not a surefire thing every time lions mate that they become pregnant. That's why they mate so frequently, to try and ensure conception. But sometimes it can take multiple times before their females become pregnant. Oh. So I think this is the male that killed the buffalo. He's much fatter than all the others. And just the smell of that carcass makes me think it's been there for longer than a night. So it might have been there for 2 nights. I'm just trying to think. No, we didn't come into this area yesterday on sunrise or sunset safari. I know on Sunrise Safari we were on Buffalo's Hook Waterhole with the 4 Nkahuma ladies and the 5 cubs. And then James, I think, was on Arathusa, yes. And then on the Sunset Safari, James was back with the Nkahumas and cubs, and we were down with Nkanyeni on Cheetah Plain. So we just didn't happen to move into this area yesterday, which is a pity, but we can't really complain with the fantastic sightings we've been having. I think we're looking at what these male lions are going to be doing for the rest of the day. Now, Ellen in Arkansas is wondering which determines which male lion gets to mate first, or will all 3 mate? Now, one of the most interesting things about lion coalitions is the dominant male is always in flux. It could be any one of the 4 who are dominant, depending on how much he's eaten, if he's got a little limp or injury, or how aggressive he happens to be that week. But normally you'll probably find she will mate with all 3 over a period of time. But the lion who's dominant at the moment will get first dibs, so to speak. And I think that's the male that is lying up much closer to the rest of the pride. Now, these boys, as I said, not going to do too much, apart from snooze. They might move into the shade a little bit later, but while we sit here for the last few minutes of drive with the beautiful Birmingham boys, and let's go see how Steph's doing on foot.
All right, now we've probably walked around about 200 yards or so following the male and female leopard track, just to prove that we're still on the tracks. Here's the male leopard tracks here. I don't know what male this is, but it's a full-grown male. And then I can take you back and show you where the last tracks of this female was, and that was here close to this termite mound. Let me show you quickly what we can. Her tracks come here. Here we go. Here's a back pad from this female. Right here is her track. That's just the back pad. You can see that angle there. So male tracks, she's still trying to keep this male away from the babies, pushing the male away from the babies. We think her babies are somewhere here, Karula's babies. She's keeping this male leopard away from her babies, or away from walking towards her babies. It's quite a common thing for leopard to do. Male leopard, who are not the fathers of these babies, will try and kill these cubs. It forces the female to come back into estrus again. It'll force Karula to come back into estrus again, and that is a way that that male leopard will be able to be certain that it's his babies here. If it is his babies, it's quite common for you to find leopard, female leopard, male leopard, and offspring feeding on a carcass together, as was evident just the other day with, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, it was two leopard on a carcass. Which one was it? Can you remember? Tingana and? What was it? It was Tingana and I can't really remember. But anyway, don't worry. There was a male and a male, two male cubs feeding on a kill together. My memory this time of the day. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to carry on walking over here. You're welcome to join us for the journey as we go further on. We've got this female leopard cub. She is heading. The male leopard is now heading straight in this direction, which is straight south. We've got a boundary that's probably around about 200 meters or so further in that direction. So I fully expect these tracks to actually cross over, and then I would expect Karula's tracks to veer off back towards her cubs. But it's going to take us a bit of time to unravel that. Obviously not enough time to finish the story in this drive. Hopefully we can finish it in this afternoon safari. And so from myself, Steph, and from Xander and Herbert, we just want to say thank you very, very much for joining us on this morning's Sunrise Bushwalk, and we'll catch you again soon wherever you are in the world. Goodbye and have a nice day.
So we're still sitting with the Birmingham boys, and they have literally not moved a centimetre. Now, as the day warms up, I'm pretty sure that they're going to get a little bit uncomfortable, as they're going to be in full sun shortly. And you can see the boy on the left is already almost in full sun. Now, Angel's wondering how long after this kill before they hunt again. I think they might even go back to that kill, but one must remember, Angel, that these incredible predators are opportunists. So if a buffalo happened to wander up to this area, in 10 minutes they would hunt. And especially, there's a good chance of something accidentally wandering into them in this windy weather we're having at the moment. You can see all the wind gusting around me, and that affects a lot of the prey species or herbivores, their smell and their hearing, and not so much their sight, of course. But if these lions were lying just off in a thicket here, flat to the ground, there's a strong possibility a buffalo wandering down here towards the Djuma Pan would not have a clue that they're there. Now, that one lioness who was drinking at the Djuma Pan, we did get a glimpse of her. She's come back and joined the rest of the pride in these thick. Oh, sorry, in those thickets. I was pointing and not watching my monitor. Naughty Brent. In these thickets down here where we were in just now, where we could just make out some of the lions and cubs, but it is very, very thick in there. But I think we're going to leave these Birmingham boys to their snooze, and maybe head down towards the Djuma waterhole. Maybe there's some zebra or other creatures around. Bye, guys. And you can see not even an eye has opened as we move the car. Fast asleep. Rest of the pride right in this little ravine here. Oh, can you see? I think I just make out the lioness there. See what I'm looking at, Brian? Yes. Yeah. So I mean, Can't you guys see the lion? I mean, it's right there. I'm only joking. You can just make out a lioness behind that bush. But it's so very, very thick in there. Well, hopefully they'll be out in the open on the sunset safari. And at least the killer bees mission for the morning was completed. We were looking for the Inkahumas and cubs, and we succeeded. Actually, you know what? We might be able to get a view from here of the cubs. Let's try. I can definitely see a lioness. Well, I could see a lioness. She's moved. Okay, yeah, let's leave the lions to enjoy their thicket for now. We'll try again on the sunset safari. So, from the killer bees! No, it's not bon nuit. It's, I can't remember how to say good morning in French. But bye, and we'll see you on the sunset safari. Let's go jump on board with James.
We are back at Djuma, everybody. I was just slamming on the anchors there, hoping that we wouldn't lose any signal. We have not lost signal. We're going back down through the valley of the great Mloamati drainage, and you can feel the wind is howling now. It really is very August windy at the moment. I don't think it's going to bring in any weather. I think it's going to just be particularly irritating for the course of the day, and we have to put up our tent today. So it's going to be quite a trial, I had to tell you, after our breakfast. Hello Sarah, you're in Cape Town. You say, when are we going to have our next fireside chat? And I'm going to ask the director in the director's seat who just asked me that question to tell me the answer. Right, it will be on Sunday, Sarah. We will be having a fireside chat on Sunday. I'm not sure how long it'll be. It'll probably be the last 15 minutes of the Sunday afternoon safari. And we'll show you a couple of clips. And we're doing a special on the Bush Olympics that took place a little while back. Eggsy has put together video on it, and it was a rather entertaining day. We had an opening ceremony, we had a number of ridiculous events, none of which I won, and then we had a closing ceremony. And you'll be able to find out who won all of those things when we go live with that on Sunday evening. Good morning. He is on the telephone in the bush. Our very wilderness. Okay. I'm just going to stop here briefly because the wind is mercifully absent down in the valley here. Okay, here we go. I feel like I'm at the seaside at the moment. Anyway, it's now Friday, of course. That means it's the weekend. Viam, are you looking forward to the weekend? What have you got planned? Yes.
Thursday still.
No, it's Friday. Yes. What have you got planned for your weekend, Viam?
Not much.
Not much. Are you going to be taking some game drives?
Yes.
Yes, me too. The only way we know it's Friday, everybody, is that on Friday evenings, Brian, who used to be something of a DJ in another life, fires up a couple of fairly loud tunes and then announces the weekend, and then things continue as they have for the rest of the week. And this is precisely, I suppose, how the animals feel. They don't really notice the weekends either. Tata, you want to know if I've ever done animal impressions on the radio? No, I haven't ever done animal impressions on the radio. You've got to be careful of that, Tasha, because people get very upset if you mess around on the radio. One uses their humour on the radio very sparingly indeed. Okay, we're turning on to Juma, and then we'll say goodbye to you until the afternoon. There we are. Right, now I will sit here and say thank you to all of you for joining us on our safari and for continuing to entertain us with your conversations. It's much appreciated. Thank you, Viam. Big thank you to Brent and Stefan and Eggsy and Brian and Kirsten and Rebecca, and we'll see you today at 3 o'clock this afternoon in the wind. Bye-bye.